Spread the word.
Yeah. And so while we're talking about spreading the word, I think we should talk about like sharing, conversation, community. So how do you guys, and I'll start with you, Tiff, because you kind of just got here. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on community, specifically being like the Black female community in the influencer space? Do you feel like we are very giving and we share enough? Because I know you and I recently had an interaction where I was like, hey girl, like this campaign, you were like, do not do it if they did not give you money. And I was like, thank you. All the information. Don't do it. Because they were surely not going to pay me. And, you know, I really appreciated that because there are some times where, you know, two people will be on a campaign, because I easily could have said yes to that campaign and I would have done a post and thought that Tiffany didn't get paid for it either. And, you know, she did. So, but, you know, let's start with you about sharing, whether it be rates, events, information, bringing new people into this, like wherever you want to start.
I have an abundance mindset. There is enough for everybody. So I don't care about sharing rates. I don't care about sharing events. I don't care about sharing a contact, any of that. What's for me is for me, and what's gonna be for you is for you. So let's all eat. That's how I move. So I mean, it's also very important for us to have these kind of conversations so we can know where to stand. So if a brand's coming to you with your reach and following, and they're not trying to offer you a budget, and it's like, don't be disrespectful, because that's disrespectful at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't
we say that?
Now I know what bucket to put you in when you come back again. Like, I'm not going to waste time on somebody that's being disrespectful of what I do for a full-time position. It's not for play. Right. Like, I'm not doing this as a, and people can have a hobby and all of that, but this is still a business. This is how a lot of us support ourselves. So don't be disrespectful.
Right. And then on the other hand, you know, like paying on time and like making sure that
you can't make
like,
no paying on time. You just gotta pretend it's never gonna come. Right? If you make any plans on those contracts, like I used to be like, I'm gonna book a trip. Nope. When I first started, I was like, I'm gonna book a trip or something.
No, girl.
And I'm like, okay, well, the trip has come and gone. I'm now back in New York. Still haven't gotten paid. Like, something got lost in translation. The paperwork.
I need you to walk over to accounting
and find out. And you always know, I think, when a brand values you, because I've had those conversations where it's like, I don't, like I haven't gotten paid yet. My check will be in the mail or I'll get a PayPal, because they value you and they still want to maintain those relationships versus there's been times where I've had a 60-day payout that's still another 60 days late. So I didn't get paid for 120 days. I'm like, and I give y'all a lower rate. Yeah. And I gave y'all a lower rate off the strength that I like you, and you still didn't pay me.
If you don't want to, what are you doing that for?
Do you find that when you lower your rate, it's oftentimes when you get that situation,
yes.
you don't.
Yes.
That's taught me. That's taught me. No, I'm not going to lower my rate, because I'm not about to chase you down for my low rate, and it's 120 days later.
So you mentioned sharing contacts. Like, how do you go about sharing contacts? Do you just give, if a person reaches out to you and they're like, hey, can I have this contact? Or are you more like, let me recommend?
Just slide in my DMs. There's got to be. I think what people have to really understand, there's got to be an authentic relationship. Like, I know your name? Have I seen you? Like, let's build. I'm about authentic connection. So if that's already in place, and you're like, girl, I saw you work. Like, we had the conversation in the DM, and that's how it went down. But if it was just like, I saw you just work with XYZ brand, can you slide me your information? Girl, yes. And do you need somebody else? And then, I saw you work with XYZ. Can you just? It's that, but it has to be a foundation first.
And trust the person to know that they're not gonna mess up your name.
Right. Fine. Don't even include me on it. It's just like I don't know if you guys feel this way when people like slide in your DMs and they don't like.
Say hello.
Hey, hi.
I was just having this conversation yesterday. They don't even say hi, how are you? It's like, I had some girl say yo to me, and I'm like, girl. Yeah. Oh my God! No,
I don't know you.
To
do you either
not even a halo or anything.
Yeah, so it's just like basic level of like, what do you call it? Etiquette.
Etiquette.
Yeah. Saying like manners, just manners. And so that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's just on Instagram, we feel familiar. We feel like, that's my girl. I don't actually know you in real life.
Right. I don't even slide into my friends' DMs like that. Like,
right.
It was like, hey, girl.
So I definitely am a share. I definitely will. I think that's the only way we can win as a community is if we have that conversation, talk about money. What did you get? What didn't you get? So the next time you can go back and go, oh, sorry, I know y'all have more budget than that because I pulled my people. You know, let them know that, but I pulled my people.
Exactly.
So one of the things that just going back off of what you said, Tiff, that I noticed is that especially because I'm very I consider myself to be very new to this. 2018 to now, only 2 years. That's not a lot of time. Thank you. One of the things that I've noticed is that it seems like it's difficult, I think, for newer people who are in the influencing space to make those contacts or to be able to share that information because one, we don't know that people share it. That was one of the first things that I was shocked about is that people were comfortable talking I was grossly undercharging until someone came up to me and was like, how much you charge that brand? And I kind of looked at her and I was like, I like you, I'll tell you. And I told her, she was like, what? And she was just like, we need to charge this, this, and this because of X, Y, and Z. And when I brought that number back and they said, yeah, I was just like, it's a whole new world. I was shocked, but I oftentimes struggle with how do you build these? Because if you're not getting invited to the event, because we already said that there's a disparity with the amount of black women, specifically the amount of dark skin or even dark skin plus black women that are invited, you're not there, you're not making the connections with people on social. I'm pretty sure if you have followers, thousands of followers, you're getting hundreds of DMs because I get too many DMs and I'm not even huge like that. It's just how do you make those connections to where you can learn the information? So oftentimes I feel like micro influencers who are, let's say, under 50K or under 30K, you're kind of struggling for scraps within yourself and you don't have that connection because you know that there's so many people that are busy or if they've been influencing for years, they already have their group, they have their group chat, they have the people that they share the information with. So if you're newer, how do you step in and make those connections, meet those people? If you're not invited to the events, they get too many DMs so they don't see yours when you're genuinely engaging, or when you show up, they're with the people that they're used to being with.
For me, it's all about the approach. So I'm very much a sharer. There was a girl who I wanted to be here today, and I had told her, she was speaking with a brand. Actually, the first brand that I ever worked with is this brand she's working with now. And she told me what she was charging. I was like, I want to punch you in the face. That is too low. I was because, and for me, so when it comes to rates, there's a lot, right? If you're undercharging, that directly impacts people who are charging what they need to be charging, right? Because now a brand thinks that they can come, if let's talk about someone who has the same amount of following I do, 92K, been doing this for a while. They come to me, and I've had a brand say this to me. She is not charging as much, and she has more followers than you do. Well, go work with her because I know my worth, and I understand the work that I put into it, right?
And now you got to go pull her up. Sis, let me talk to you real quick because now you're messing up the curve.
Exactly. So it's when you're undercharging, it's so important because I wish she could have been here. Ty, Gorgeous and Gray, love Ty Alexander, because I remember being in a room with her when I kind of first started. And I was with her, Christina Brown, Felicia, and they were all talking. So they're veterans in this game. They've been doing this for a minute. And I remember them saying that to me, that I can't undercharge because it directly impacts them. And now being kind of on the other end of it, because I still haven't been doing it that long, but to have this conversation with you, it's so important. It's really about your approach. I didn't have to necessarily approach them because I just happened to be in the room with them when they were having that conversation. But for me, it really is about the approach. So when newer influencers come to me and they're like, hey, I wanted to know if I can get your opinion on this. And it's a genuine, can I get your opinion? They're not asking me, can you give me all the tea so I can grow really fast? No, it's a genuine, I would like to know, am I doing myself a disservice? And they don't even realize they're actually helping me out because I don't want you to do yourself a disservice, nor do I want you to do me a disservice either.
Because it's all connected.
Right. So and I think that you guys should, new micro influencers, new whatever you want to call it, do allow yourself to just approach someone with etiquette. I feel like we're all very clear on what etiquette is. And just say, this pick your brain. Please don't say pick your brain because I hate when people be like, can I pick your brain?
I didn't even know people said that.
Yeah.
I just found that out on Twitter. That's a real phrase.
You can only pick your brain, pick my brain if you know me. But beyond that, it's
using that term.
People charge for that. People charge to pick your brain for you.
You have to show that you are working. right? Like you're not just like posting every month. I'm just trying to get in it. You're either doing it or you're not. So it's like, see, I'm not going to spend time with you talking to you about these things if you're not serious. So that's really important. Also, there are events or people are doing classes that still have a lot of information. I don't know if we're using name, but I know Maddie. No, she's not even Maddie Maddie James.
Maddie James, yeah.
I was Maddie, when's your class next again? Like I'm signing up. She's very thorough.
Courtney also has really good stuff in her captions.
I love color.
So there are tools that are out there and available. Because people they want to make money. That's an income stream for them. But they are also giving really solid advice there too. And there are also events that you can go to and create your own. You know, what do you call this? Like a group within the blogger world. You don't always have to tap into somebody else's. You can definitely just
I mean, you're doing it.
I've definitely done it. And I think for me it was more so just like I don't think it's not a struggle for me as much anymore, but definitely in the beginning. Like there was just so much that you don't know because like I shared earlier, I kind of fell into the space. It wasn't something that I walked into. So it was just like now that I'm here, I'm just looking around like what is this? And then as I started to talk more and meet more people and like learn more and my eyes became open, I realized, well, I still don't want to forget where I started and the girls who were like me, who didn't know that, didn't know about algorithms or hashtags or didn't know about events or didn't know how to like network or what it looks like to make genuine connections. Like, how do I still tap into that? Because I know for me, just like, I never want to get to the point where I forget like where I started or what I felt like in the very beginning, because there were days, where you're just sitting there and it's just like, do I want to keep doing this? Like, is this worth it? Like,
I know people were lying. I was like, these girls are not making a living.
Right.
They're making $300 a post. Like, where are they getting this money? And then you have the conversation. You're like, oh, you're charging $3,000.
It's something to say. Like, the game has changed. Like, like when I first got into it, it was like, the algorithm was not a thing. It was not a factor. And so now I think, because I actually reached out to her. She is a distant friend of a friend of a friend who went viral. Y'all have probably seen her story. Went viral pretty much like in a week. Her and her husband, like how they met and then their little baby boy. Her story went viral. So I literally DM'd her and I was like, hey girl, like how has the you stepping into this influencer space been? Like da da da. And she had put it on her story before about how she didn't really know how to navigate it. So I literally reached out and I was like, viral culture has like completely changed, and it does affect in terms of rates. Like people are like they don't know. You go viral in a week. You don't know what to do.
Right.
You don't know how
They'll
to
be in charge like $250, $300.
$250 for a post, and I'm like, baby girl, your engagement, and this is like that. Like the conversation that we had was very much just like, okay, like this is kind of how you should navigate this space now. If you have any questions, let me know. But like literally viral culture has done that because it's like it affects all of us, because they'll go to this person who went viral overnight and they'll be like, oh, we have $500 for you. And I'm like, oh my god, $500, it's like $1,000. Woo, this is great. And it's like, baby girl, you can make $5,000, $10K, So I literally was like, if you have any questions, if you need, and I like whenever people open up the conversation, I'm always like, let me know, because literally and I have done my own research or whatever the case, reading the book Influencer by Brittany Hennessy, which gave a lot of great tips, but being able to pass on that knowledge and let people know that you charging $500 for something that you should be is not only it's not just affecting you, because they'll go and they'll be like, okay, cool, and then undervalue you and the rest of us are supposed to. I was just talking about it,
especially as Black women.
You should be charging extra because they want us for they want us for our Blackness. People to charge
diversity fee. Thank you.
I sure
I will say though, I do feel like this is like the wrong group of people for this topic, because I do feel like in terms of sharing, because I just get the vibe that everyone here is pretty much a sharer. But I think we can all admit that we have met people in this industry who are not. And it's like, I'm like listening, I'm like, you guys are all really nice, but we're not gonna sit here and act like there are a lot of people, and a lot of those people tend to be like the gatekeepers, because they're usually the only Black person who's the face of a specific brand, and unless they say something and they like it, some people literally that fuels them, and it's frustrating because when I first started, I was running into a lot of those people, and it was like really discouraging. I'm like, is this what it's like? Like, first of all, I don't want to go to these events if I gotta be around you, because I did not. Like, I already work as a nurse, and I'm like the only black person there. I don't need this on my day off or whatever. Like, so dealing with that has always been super frustrating. But I will say one advice I did like is people do notice when you're working, and when you are consistent, because even for me, I am a micro influencer, but I still do get daily questions like, what apps do you use? How did you reach out to this brand? How do you take your photos? How do you do this and how do you do that? And I go on their page and I'm like, like, when is the last time you posted a photo? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
You can at least post a selfie on your iPhone. You know, I understand it does take a while to get all the equipment you need, but if you haven't posted in 3 months, I can't even, you need to take baby steps. Right. So I do agree that people do ask for advice, and it's like they're not even setting the foundation. Where it's like, now I'm offering you information. I sat here and had a conversation with you for what? Like, you know, and 9 times out of 10, if you're not even like posting selfies on an everyday basis or every like a weekly basis, then you're not gonna like use these apps and like read these books and like reach out to these brands and all that stuff. So it is a kind of like you need to do the work, but there are a lot of gatekeepers in this community who will literally like, why are you here? And then some of them, they just see your following and they don't even take you seriously. And I'm like, but like, you know, I don't know. And I also feel like, you know, with the algorithm nowadays, I do think that it's kind of lowered the gap in between like bigger influencers and smaller ones, because like a smaller one can go viral overnight and have the same engagement as someone who has a bigger following. But a bigger following has a bigger person has a more loyal following, and they have time in the game. And so and I pay my dues every day. I always show my respect. I mean, I remember when you followed me, and I literally tell my friend, I'm like, she followed me, and then you reached out to me for this, and I was like, she reached out to me. Like, and then Brooklyn Petite is in the room. And I'm like, what? Like, I did not expect, I didn't know who was going to be here. So I'm like, I can't wait to go home and tell my best friend. I'm like, I was in the room with these people. Like, woe is me, you know? But I always pay my dues. But I do feel like, you know, and I'm so grateful for people like you who are always oversharing. But there are a lot of people who are just like, nah,
I've had one encounter where someone, like, I asked, like, what was it that they were using for, like, to do, like, their IG stories? Because at the time, like, when I was doing it, when I first took it serious, I was like, okay, I need to be charging, they're asking way too much for stories. I need to be charging something completely separate from, like, it has to be 2 separate payments. So I had asked her what type of tool she was using, and, you know, she respectfully was like, that's my bread and butter, I'm not going to share. And I was like, all right, respect, thank you. So now I knew that she just wasn't the type to pave that wave. So I was like, I can never do that. So if I do find out what that app is, I'm going to tell people what that app is so that we can all be on the same page, you know? And I feel like, especially with my platform, I definitely overshare. And I have no, like, I'm just going to, whatever I feel like is important for people to know, especially people who want to start out, like, listen, this is what you need to be doing, because that way it's easier for us. Yeah. You know, like, oh, I see, oh, I remember you, oh, yeah, you know, and we all start seeing each other going to these events, being that representation. So if it's anything that I can share and my contract is not there, I'm sharing it. Like, I'm sharing.
You touched on, and I want to bring it back, sorry, about, I forgot what it was, but it was about Black women and maybe being able to charge. But I wanted to bring up an experience I just had.
To charge more?
Yesterday. Okay. Literally. New York Fashion Week. I was with a Caucasian woman. And she called it. She was like, yeah. She was talking about her rates, and she has like 80,000 followers. And she's like, I charge $1,300 or between $1,300 and $1,800 for an Instagram post. And of course, I'm like, say what now? Okay. I was like, okay. And so then she's like, stay in my little corner. And she keeps talking, and she's like, yeah, but I have Asian friends. And she called it a niche following, but I got what she meant because the Asian community are super supportive, and they can charge a premium. And she was like, yeah, you have a niche too. And I was like, oh, because I'm Black. She was like, yeah, you're Black and you have a niche. You're a demographic. I didn't know that was a niche, but okay, let's talk about it. And so she's like, well, do you mind sharing what you charge? And I was like, yeah, girl, double what you're charging. So I thought it was very interesting. I definitely want to bring it up here that I feel like this is the only industry one of the only industries that, as a black woman, if you're educated enough and you know what to ask for, you can get paid double.
Right. Absolutely. So I forgot where I was at on 2 occasions when I found out being a black woman, it's a commodity.
Yeah.
Like I know I was on a panel once, and I remember I wish she could have been here, but she was a micro influencer at the time, and she told me that she got $7,000 for like a post, and I think she said she had like 5K or like 7K or something. I was like,
come again? You like, come on, baby, here.
And then another time someone told me, it was a white woman, she was like, people want black women.
Yes.
But I think that you make a good point. You have to be educated enough, and you have to be willing to fight for the rate that you're asking for, because they will, I know we've all had the opportunity, the instances where we've said a rate and the brand says yes too quickly. And then
you're like,
it just happened.
I feel like it happens all the time.
So right back, oh my god.
I'm like, yes,
Right. Let me talk to somebody. Go talk to somebody.
Right, let me talk. So I feel like, and someone had told me this as well, say a rate that makes your stomach hurt. When you feel so uncomfortable, like nauseating, that's probably what you should charge, because either they'll work you down or they'll say yes, but they want you. If they come to you, they want you, right? And that's what I had to like come to terms with, and be okay when it's okay to say no, right? So I think that you saying about like black women, I think we just don't know it yet, and we haven't resolved it in ourselves enough to realize like we really are a commodity, and they want it.
Because I don't even have 10K and I charge. I haven't done anything less than 1,000.
Literally.
So that
I know someone who was
I
charging
haven't.
$50
For what?
80K. And they were
For what?
What?
Where is she?
What?
Food in a week. Like,
the minute I step out my house, it's $20.
that's
Right.
to breathe in New York.
$20 to breathe.
I don't even have a pair of shoes right now that cheap. Like,
You think about Getty Images. You think about like Tonal. These people. This is when you talk about like usage charges.
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
And the period that they want to use it for, you add an extra
And
for every
that's
month that they
important.
want.
That's something that people who
Yeah.
are just getting into the game or newer influencers, they don't read the contract. You
Yeah,
know?
you
They're
have
just like,
to
okay,
read the
cool,
contract.
like whatever. And it's like, no, what are the usage? Does it say in perpetuity? What is whitelisting? What is the exclusivity? And it's like all these things that like, again, like viral culture and newer influencers who are stepping into the game, they don't necessarily know those things. And so like that's actually the conversation that I was having at the brunch, and it was like that, they were just saying, oh yeah, like whatever. And sometimes I talk to people who are like, yeah, I kind of just skim over the contract.
No.
I used to
See,
skip.
I got
never.
People don't care if they skim because they do it as a hobby.
Right.
They think it's fun.
Yeah.
And we're not, we're full timers.
Yeah, you gotta. The minute I went full time,
different.
I got management because I couldn't take the. It's too long to read.
Oh no!
Like, I really-
I was
certain
screenshotting parts
you
and
just
sending
have
it
to
back.
know
What does
where
this
to
mean?
look.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
There are parts where you can just kind of skim
Yeah.
over it. It's
Right.
like, okay, cool. I don't need to necessarily like read super in depth into like, I don't know, like I can't do that.
There's certain
Yeah,
things, term,
yeah,
exclusivity, usage, the time period, like when you're getting paid,
Exactly.
if they can use it anywhere, because it's like you said, that's when I found out I could get money.
Yeah.
Like when they
Usage
come
and
back,
exclusivity.
and I forgot who told me, but someone told me about exclusivity, and they were like, they were like, work them off the exclusivity because you can charge so much more for exclusivity. Like someone told me, they were like, oh, they want you exclusive for a month. How much money you make? She said, she was like,
because you're losing work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
especially when it's in the niche that you know that you are an authority in. Like
for example,
sure.
I did a partnership with Crate and Barrel, and I obviously the exclusivity was, I think it was a month long, something like that. But I literally was like, okay, cool, because I don't think I'm gonna be working with another furniture company.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, cool, this is gonna be my rate for the exclusivity. But it's like, I'm not gonna be, if I was something in hair or makeup, like obviously that's gonna be way more. So the category definitely matters in terms of when dealing with prices for exclusivity and usage.
So I want to just touch on one more thing before we head out. Something that I feel like we've all probably experienced at some point in time is anxiety stress, comparison, imposter syndrome. So I wanted to talk about like those things that you may have experienced or may not have experienced, and like your remedies for them or your thoughts. Because I know for me, like I've experienced myself comparing, like we've spoken about this earlier, comparing myself to others. Either like, it's not envy or jealousy because you're so happy to see your friend blow up, but at the same time it's like, what am I not doing? Right? And then it's also, I've experienced anxiety, you know, trying to put out a campaign or making sure it's good enough. Like, how do you guys deal with it? Have you experienced it? Like, let's touch on that, because I think that's something, you know, when we talk about things that influencers don't talk about, we don't talk about the grit and the grime of what we're doing, especially if you're full-time, because it's a lot. You're your own boss, kind of.
I think for me, that's been like my biggest struggle, is like this idea of imposter syndrome. Just feeling like you don't belong in certain spaces, and especially because like I feel like whenever I walk into a room, I am usually not only one of the few black women, one of the few dark-skinned black women, I'm probably the only plus person across like the entire board, right? So for me, what that's resulted in is like, I'll have something, and like, let's say for example it's a post, and I literally just won't put it up because I'll just like, it's not good. Like, I'm hypercritical of like my work, or hypercritical of my content, and then also that anxiety of, is it going to be received well? Is it gonna do well? Like, or when I had like my first few partnerships under my belt, every time before I posted like that paid post, I think it took me like 30 minutes, because it's just like the fear of, I charged them a lot, they paid me, now how is it going to perform? Are they going to want to come back, right? Is my audience going to like it? Is my audience going to be okay with seeing that this is an ad or that this is a sponsorship? Like, how are they going to take to it? And speaking to you guys' points earlier of like, you know, putting in the work as an influencer and like proving yourself, I think for me, one of the biggest things that I've allowed my like anxiety or fear to do is like take me away from that passion, because there's been times where I took a month and I was too afraid to post, or 3 months. I literally, the last time that I took a 3-month hiatus, and before I posted, I had content for like a month in advance. And I could have posted earlier, but I literally, every single day, I was just like, this is not the one. It might not do so well. This can't be the comeback photo. It's like, I talked to myself so negatively. I posted a little selfie, like random. I was just like, fuck it, I'm posting it. And it did like 3,000 likes. And like in one hour, it did like 1,000 likes. And I was sitting there to my coworker, and I was just like, wow, like it did well. And she was just like, you're going to block your blessings, and you're going to take away the opportunity that could be great for you before you've even gotten started if you don't just keep going. So I think 2020, my motto has definitely been like, one, discipline, and just like talking positively to myself on a constant basis, because something that I definitely want to talk on my channels is just this idea that like, for me, like who I am, it wasn't always a positive thing. So I hear the voices of bullies. I hear the voices of like family members when it comes to putting myself up on social. So it's just like, it almost becomes a part of you of, you're not good enough. Like, who wants to see you? And then you get into these rooms and there's no one like you. So it's just like, I belong here, you know?
I feel that. I definitely feel that, because a lot of my posts, like, especially the ones that I take time with, and I like, it's a long post and I'm like talking about my depression or like my anxiety or like even plus size issues. Right before even posting, I'm like, I always tell my mom, I'm like, okay, is this too much?
I do that.
And I'm like, is this too much? Is this gonna put like, are brands even gonna want to work with me? Am I cursing too much? Am I saying too much? Like, I have that sense of anxiety, and I'm like, well, you know what? Nobody else is saying this, so I might as well just do that, and I'll deal with the consequences after. But right now, I feel like this is important. I should post it, but yeah, I'll sit there for like a good 30 minutes, like even with my boyfriend, I'm like, babe, this is too much. Am I sharing too much? Like, if you saw this, how would you feel as a man? Like, I always try to get those inputs, because the sense of anxiety is like, okay, maybe somebody's gonna be like, girl, shut up and stick to fashion or something. And then I don't want to black out and be like, I can talk about anything I want to talk about. So, yeah, I feel that.
Or even like sending your like for me, I'll send my, like sometimes I've stopped now because I'm really trying to be intentional about just like feeling the fear, doing it anyway, and just positively talking to myself. But like in the past, like I would send my picture before I posted it to Instagram to like 10, 15 friends. Like, you think this is good enough? Like, you like this? You like this? And it's just like, at one point, it's just like, why do I need validation? Like my sister literally said validation is for parking or something like that. She was just like, we need to stop like And when she said that to me, I was like, oh, okay. She was like, yeah. Like, she was like, if you like it, post it, because someone else is gonna like it. And if they don't, you're putting out content. Just get into the habit of like doing it. And I feel like it's for me, when I saw the talking point of like anxiety and fear is something that I think I've definitely struggled with, but a lot of creators I know struggle with it. And for me, I'm just the type of person, I can't fake it. I can't fake the funk. I can't be like sad in my house sleeping and then take a quick selfie, throw it up, and act like I just can't. You gonna know. You gonna know.
I for me, comparison is a big thing because I have an older brother, so I grew up always being compared to him, every time. And I still, to this day, get compared to him. He is in the government. He works with the military. He kind of fell in line in the DMV. That's kind of the thing. You go into politics, you get a stable job, and so my family doesn't really understand kind of what I do. So when coming up, I definitely have compared myself, and still to this day have trouble with comparing myself because I'm like, okay, this is my thing. I love this thing, but maybe what I'm doing is not doing the best, or I have those days where I'm like, I really like this post and I post it and it doesn't do well, and I'm like, what do y'all want? And I compare myself to people who I've either come up in the game with or who are doing something similar, and I'm like, okay, well maybe I need to adjust myself and my style or how I my space on social media to be more like them because that's what people like. And it's no, I'm an individual. I need to be myself all the time, and whoever's gonna mess with that and whoever's gonna bang with that is gonna do that, and if not, it is what it is.
Yeah, I definitely. Oh my God, I mean, Instagram has given me all the feels. I have cried over Instagram, and it's just it's gotten embarrassing because you're just Esther, especially when you work as a nurse and you're at a hospital and you're seeing death. And you go and you cry because you're posted and do well, or you're not getting the shot that you want. I mean, you literally are just Esther, are you serious right now? Are you real? Are you really doing this?
We're creators, we're sensitive.
Yeah, I know. I know. But sometimes you do have to put the phone down and be there is so much going on that you gotta rise above whatever you're feeling. But I mean, for me personally, as a dark-skinned woman, you do feel sometimes when you're doing stuff, you're I'd go so much further if I wasn't dark-skinned, and I hate feeling like that. I hate that feeling. I hate it because it reminds me so much of my childhood, and I feel I've done so much work to go away from I wanted to bleach my skin when I was younger, so I feel I've made so much strides away from that, and this industry will really knock you back down into feeling like that and reminding you that you are a darkie, you're a little dark-skinned girl, and you have a long way to go in terms of being paid equally to just other people within your own race. Forget about outside your own race, but damn, I can't even get paid the same as another black woman with the same following, the same exact engagement. All the factors are the same, but they just happen to be lighter with a looser curl pattern or whatever the case may be. So that's definitely been super humbling for me. And then also just being, my father's African, my mom is from the Caribbean, and I'm also an immigrant. So me doing this is they did not ask for this. They're very happy that I got my nursing degree, but this is every time they're what are you doing? Yeah. So I don't even have that support. And so it's, I've been fortunate enough now that the brands are paying me and they see that, extra income, they're very happy. But still, trying to get that recognition, trying to get that respect from them as well as your peers, because you're a micro influencer. And so a lot of people with bigger followings, they don't respect you, and and sometimes they don't think that you're gonna last because you're so small, and it's hard because I have a photographer that I pay, and I also have 2 websites that I have to pay my website on my designer on a retainer, and so that's a lot of fees. These people have to get paid whether I get paid or not. So I do a campaign, my photographer gets paid tomorrow or whatever. I don't get paid for 30 days, 60 days, 180 days, whatever it may be. And so it's all this stress of oh my God, I gotta pay this girl, and I'm not even paid right now, and then I'm buying these clothes. These people sent me a shirt, but now I gotta buy a skirt, a pair of shoes. I gotta do my hair. I gotta do all of this. No, and that's why I do that now. And that's why I do that. Yeah, I do that now. And people,
that's why your rate is your rate.
I'm just I had to tell people, by the time I pay all these people, I have made no money off of this. I'm not doing this until you pay me more, because there's no profit in this for me, and it's a waste of my time. And I'm just damn tired because I came from work, and before I was working full time, I was in school full time, so I've never had a chance to just do this by itself yet, and that's the goal for me. But I had to, when you already have a team and you're already paying so many people, I just added a lawyer onto my team because we're trying to just create some legal work behind the scenes. it's a lot, you know, trying to build that foundation. And so, yeah, you feel that stress on an everyday basis. And it's like the reminders of how far you are from where you want to be, plus certain factors that you have no control over. I can't control my skin color. I can't control my hair texture. I mean, I can, but I'm not going to do that. So it's like, I can't. So all those factors really do weigh on you. And, it's a lot.
I'm like, y'all, I'm looking at her, I'm like, your skin is so
beautiful.
I'm like,
I feed for a tan.
like,
I feed for a tan.
And the fact
so
that you,
beautiful.
and I'm just like, damn, the fact that you feel this way, first of all, I'm like, that's your niche, if you want to call it. So if you're ever in negotiation and you see that, oh, she's light skin, you're like, yeah, but I got the dark skin game on lock. And this is why y'all need to pay me a premium, so that you don't walk away feeling like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, I also, I found that, okay, so I will say, I do the like picture thing. I'll be like, is this picture or this picture? And it'll be like, my hand was like that, or my hand was like this. And I'm like, well, which one do you think is going to do better?
Because they're different.
They are different.
They're the
One,
same, but
the
they're
light
different.
hit my eye, and the other one, the light didn't hit my eye. So it was different, and that was his eye.
Piece of hair that was
Yes.
here.
I really get like that, and then, so I've done that a couple times. So I will say that, and I also get talking about brands and my audience. I get concerned because I'm like, ooh, I need to pay my bills and eat.
Mm-hmm.
So this might look a little strange. I'm gonna try to make it work, but I do get nervous about how my audience will respond while I'm also trying to please the brand.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's also one of my things. But I found in order to deal with, I don't have anxiety, but in order to deal with some of these, I think, things that creatives come up with, I'm a big meditator. I'm a big person on being present, on just acknowledging and being thankful for this, right? Like, and I'm also a little bit older, so that might help because I've had a whole different career. I've had a whole nother life. I'm a former chemical engineer. I worked in corporate. I've done that for a long time. And so to be able to be in this space, I'm so grateful. So to wake up and be like, I'm grateful for these. So when I walk in the room and I'm like, I'm the only one here, girl, whatever, anyway, so what kind of you get what I'm saying? Because I'm so grateful to be here because I could be at my cubicle working on these big pieces of equipment with a bunny suit on, miserable. So I'm like, I'm in this room and y'all gonna accept me the way I'm gonna get this drink to whatever I'm gonna do, get the products, I'm gonna whatever. I'm gonna have a conversation. So it makes it easier the more you go into spaces that you feel a little bit more comfortable every time you do it.
Yeah, I think that's something we touched on in the last conversation with being older, being in different like industries, and knowing like, you know, so to come from one place and just to be grateful that you're someplace else, I think that makes a huge difference. Like sometimes I have to reel myself and be like, well, you could have still been doing this, but you're not. Like you have the luxury to stay home. You have a luxury to take Monday as the weekend.
Oh gosh,
versus
thank God.
You know, having to you're mandated to Saturday and Sunday. So I think that understanding that to be grateful for those things within our anxiety. Exactly. Whatever is for you. Yeah.
Learning that.
Because
for an anxiety point and a touch point, something that I've kind of been struggling with, and I feel the same way as you. Like everything that you said, I was just like, yes, you know, we are very fortunate to be in this job. But I feel like now that I'm working with Sephora, and again, it's like a really big brand, you see cancel culture all the time happening in brands, and then you just never want to be like on the inside of that, like, damn, I just did a campaign with them like 6 months ago, or like, what I'm saying, real, it's like,
awkward right now. Yeah,
But you don't know that. I feel like that's something you can explain to an audience. You get what I'm saying? If you're connected enough with
these audiences are unforgiving.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I think it depends on your demographic. But when you the younger audience, like I definitely got a couple of youngins in there, and they are unforgiving. Like
the younger crowd.
Yeah, they are
so
they are rebels about it a little bit.
They get on you.
Yeah, YouTube and the younger generation definitely is very.
And Twitter.
And
Twitter is shocking.
I don't even see like
Twitter is the
I'm like, I can say the
worst.
wrong thing. Let me just not even say anything.
Right.
You know what? I had my fair share with Twitter. I had said the wrong thing once, and oh gosh, they came for me.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I still feel that way, but okay.
But no, I feel you on that. And then you never know, like, what's going to come out tomorrow. And also,
And
sometimes it's like, you want to check. Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, you have this idea, like, oh, I can be the change. And then, like, okay, you tag this brand, and then your followers go on their Instagram, and it's like, you're not even on their Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, this is so awkward. Like,
Mhm.
how do I explain this to a brand? And then on Black History Month, I'm promoting all these Black-owned brands. And, you know, it's hard. And then, unfortunately, the reality is a lot of times the brands that do pay the most tend to not, you know,
I've gotten called out on that before.
cater.
Someone called me out on that.
They don't tend to
Really?
cater to.
Someone called me out
And
and
it's
was like,
not
you,
anyone's-
you talk a big game about like supporting Black women and supporting, you know, but you're doing a partnership with a brand. When I go to their Instagram, I don't see your face, someone who looks like me, or whatever the case may be. And I was like, you're right. You're right. I have no defense there because you're right. I should have been better about my selection process and not just being like, oh, this is an opportunity. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, not
But I
having
think
these-
that is multi-level, right? Because there are some things like you have to be selective, but sometimes you are the person that the brand is trying to be progressive with.
Yeah.
And they will continue. So you never know where the brand is going, and there may not be any people on that Instagram. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time because it also is a trend. So a brand also doesn't want to look like, and I'm very much a devil's advocate in terms of, I like to see things from both ends before I make a decision. So if someone ever were to call me out and be like, well, there's no one on this page, but do you know what they're doing, what those conversations are having in that conference room? Do you know what's going on? Because you don't know the conversation I have with this brand before you're quick to call me out. So I definitely understand your fear of like cancel culture and people calling you out, audiences being unforgiving. I'm lucky enough to never have had to explain myself to anyone,
Yeah,
but
same.
based on if I ever do make a decision, I know what, and it's not a defense. It's, I know what I'm going to say because I know where I stand and what is for me. And, you know, what's for me is for me, and what the decisions I make, I don't make them lightheartedly at all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so I think that when if someone does come to you, it's, let's have a conversation before you attack me.
Yeah.
And then attack the decisions that I've made. You know what I'm saying? So that's my 2 cents on that.
I think where that helps is when you do. So some of us are like, I want to hurry up and get there, and I want to be viral. But that's where taking your time and actually building an audience comes in, because they understand you.
Right.
They're like, you ain't really like. So it's not as much of an attack versus somebody that went viral. These people met you yesterday, so they're gonna come for you.
Right.
Versus you took 7-8 years to build people along the way.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a different conversation. So that's where, you know, kind of going the slower route pays off.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have people that are loyal to you and that are invested in what you're doing. So.
Absolutely.
And I think if anyone ever, and I've thought about this too, if anyone ever comes for you to say like, oh, you're only working with white brands, right? Or there's no people of color. Have you ever thought about the fact that this is my livelihood and maybe the brands of color may not be paying me? Because that's a thing. That's it, and it's it's right, exactly. It's unfortunate because, you know, we are. It's Black History Month, right? And we're talking about positivity and we want to support Black brands, but at the same time, there needs to be reciprocity in the fact that a Black brand also needs to support us as a business.
Yeah.
Because we are a business. So I think that, you know, people, brands, influencers, everyone needs to realize that while as an influencer, as a consumer, you support the Black brand also needs to support you.
Yeah,
And they need to pay you
100%.
your worth, and not, because I do know that this happens at times, that there are Black brands who will pay me less, but may pay Veronica more because her skin is lighter, or because her hair is looser, or may pay a white influencer more, or may pay an Asian influencer more, and we're all in the same campaign, but they think because I'm sister girl and we have a relationship that you don't owe me that same respect. And so that's something I think that we also all need to understand, because I will have a conversation with a brand and say, a Black brand, this is my rate. And my rate is not going to, as much as I love you, I can't go below my rate, because for 5 years I've been giving you below my rate. And you, every year you come back and you say you're going to give me my rate next year, and you don't give me my rate next year.
I think it's something that's systematic also, because a lot of these white brands have big white investors. Excuse me. You know, so like with the black brands, it's like, okay, that's where it starts.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's kind of the way that I've always seen it, and it's like I want to be respected, I want to be paid correctly from whoever I'm working with, you know. But like this is a systematic thing, and so it's something that starts from way above even the brand, you know, because they need a certain amount of money to be able to be successful, and like white investors are taking these white brands to the top and leaving black brands because it's like, okay, cool, they're relying on the black dollar to support their business, and it's like, no, I still need investors, and we still need, you know, so that they can put money aside for influencer marketing, you know. And it's like, there's one brand, I'm not going to mention the name of it because I haven't worked with them yet and I kind of want to, but there's one brand where like the person who works, like she's the owner of the brand, does a lot of her influencer marketing because she's like, you know, I'm not going to outsource this if I can do it for myself, which is doing somewhat of a disservice, but at the same time, it's like, you know, when you only have a certain amount of money that's invested into your brand, how are you supposed to go out and be able to pay? So it starts at the top. It starts like systematically, you know, if you are not getting enough money to be able to give, that there's only so much you can do. And
Yeah, I wanted to kind of speak to that point too, because even with me now working for a brand behind the scenes, like me and the marketing manager are always arguing, or the marketing lead, because I'm coming from a perspective of not only am I here behind the scenes, but I'm also an influencer, and like there's like a running joke. I'm like, yeah, y'all can't afford me. Like, as a running joke of just like, but I think that there was a lot of misconceptions I had as an influencer about certain brands and the amount of money that they get, because it starts from investments, it starts from what their budget is, and if you have investors, you have to now answer to these investors, and you have to prove that there's a return on your investment and a return on their investment. So if you are putting money into influencers and you're tracking it and it's not making as much money, investors might look at that and say, well, we think you should spend less money towards influencer marketing and more towards here. So I think it's very nuanced. And so for me, what I've gotten to the point of is just like, I had to question myself, because there are some brands that might not be black owned where, let's say they have a huge following, or there's some type of relationship that can be built for like a future partnership. If I'm open to that, I also have to ask myself, make sure that I'm open to that with black brands as well, so that I'm not walking into it just like, well, you're a black owned brand, you have to pay me. Whereas just like, so you can't do it for a black owned brand for free, but for a white brand you do it for free and smile about it. Why? So making sure that I'm constantly checking myself with that. And then also brands need to be more open about what they can and cannot do, because one thing that I do love is that like with my marketing lead, she's very open of like, you are worth more, and if I can't pay it, then I'm just gonna have to take that L. And like that to me, I think is eye opening in the sense that some brands really just don't have it, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I might do it for you because I love your brand, I love your message, I know that the brand is gonna be successful, and you'll remember me when you do have it, and remember that I did it because I genuinely loved it. And then going back to a point that you guys both were talking on about like cancel culture and just like you know, with sponsorships being afraid, I think that a lot of the times for me, my experience has been that like when I do get a sponsorship or when I do put ad, my audience is so excited because they see someone that looks like them getting the dollars behind it. So I think it's super important to like take your time, slow and steady, and like I answer every single DM, no matter if it takes me a week, 2 weeks, a month. I'm gonna answer every DM. I'm gonna respond to every comment, even if it's 200 comments, because building that community, when you do something great, they're not just following you because you're a person on Instagram. They feel like they're your friend, and they are like, we have conversations, you know. So I think it's super important to like not just build your community, but to nurture it and make sure that like the people who follow you, like they know you, you know them, you engage with them when they engage with you, because ultimately they are the ones who are helping you to be able to bring in these brands.
Absolutely, they're the reason you can do it.
Right.
I wanted to touch on the global brands, and if someone questions you about it, because I had last year when I was finally making money, because that's how long it takes sometimes. It took me 3 years of being a full-time influencer before I started actually making enough money to pay my bills. And I always talk about that. I'm very honest about it. I think I said when I finally get money, I wanted to, you know, start featuring, you know, black designers. Like this that I'm wearing is Autumn Adegbo. I'm wearing her during Fashion Week. No money was exchanged. Like, this is a loan. I gotta take it back. You get what I'm saying? But I'm able to do these kinds of things and to highlight black brands and designers because I can take the big jobs. I take the big jobs so that I can do this for y'all.
For
a little bit.
And I think that that's really important, because when I spoke about black brands paying, I work with Black brands because I want it for free or for a lower than my rate because I want to be able to highlight them.
Right.
But like you said, being able, because like I put this all together myself out of my pocket because it was important for me to do this, to highlight us, you know what I'm saying, as Black women. And I think that, like, I totally agree with you. Like, sometimes you need to do a little something.
Exactly.
So you
Right.
can,
Right. It's a pay Paul over here, but like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And what I love about this is that I feel like, because I also saw who you had in a previous installment, that there's a variety of people as far as like followings, complexion, sizes, and I feel like that is super amazing as well because, like Esther said, like there are, especially in the beginning, there are certain influencers who you see where they've reached a certain level, and that hand is not extended. Like you can extend it to brands, but also extend it to like fellow people in the community, whether it's across, down, or up, because you never know who is gonna be the next day. So I remember like I was very, very thankful for that. So like even in you playing that, I think that it was super amazing that there was just like a spectrum because everyone is in this influencing space, and that knowledge and making sure that you are doing the job correctly or not disservicing someone who's been doing it for years only comes from conversation and from relationships.
And to know that you're also not alone. Like we all have our frustrations, we all have those times when we want to give up, but we keep going. So it's always good to like just share that like you're not alone. I'm there with you. We can do this together.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you for having me.